Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boom Bust channel, Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host Terry, and today doing a recap of our Week 10 loss against the New England Patriots. Just for transparency, doing this with about 5 minutes left in the game, but the game is over, unfortunately. Look, this week has shown me in a lot of ways that common sense is not common. And so I understand that, but we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of the things. And I don't want to be too prisoner of the moment, but I do think we're all prisoners of the moment. Like I said, myself included, not just with this week, and we'll get to that, but Caleb Williams in general. He's a rookie. Look, which I expect, but if he goes on to play 10, 11, 12 years, this is not something that people are going to talk about a lot. But because it's happening right now in the moment, it's intense, and I get all that. But I do want to just put that perspective out there. There's so much to say, so, strap in. We're going to have a little conversation. Here's my issue. Here's what's on the front of my brain, because I honestly can't even give you a structured conversation right now. But I'm gonna give you what's on the front of my brain. Caleb Williams is the issue, and I feel like I'm having deja vu, and it's double, triple deja vu, because I said this before. I've been through this every single time. Let's distill this down to the purest form of the conversation. And I want to look up the user because I want to give him credit. At Hurricane Chris, we're having a good back and forth, respectful dialogue, so I respect that. But I think that conversation really brings up the crux of the matter when it comes to like evaluating football in general, because it's not just him. I'm having these conversations with people. I see people having these conversations that I went to high school with, people I went to college with, current friends, frat brothers, like other coaches, whatever. I see it happening, whether it be local media, radio, national media, it's all happening. And so I want to address this. Here's where I come from, so hopefully people can understand. If you are either new or if you've been listening, you just don't understand my point of view. It's hard for me to listen to people talk about issues and telling me what's an issue when they don't even know how to evaluate it. And I've done this before, and I've had these conversations before, whether it's prospects in terms of the draft, whether it's the Bears, whatever. People are telling me this coach is bad, this play call is bad, this player is bad, this is bad. And I'm just like, especially when it comes to coaches and GMs, how do you evaluate what's good? How do you have what's your example of something that works? If you can't give me that, how am I supposed to believe you can tell me something is bad? And we just live in a world today, and I don't know what it is, because yes, the internet and all that, we have access to so much information, but people don't know the information. People line up to tell you like they're experts, and they don't even know. It's one thing if it was like, hey, I deep dove into all these experts, and I read these books, and I watched these podcasts, and I'm really like, I feel like I'm an expert on this. No, it's just people saying that they know, even though they don't. So sports is kind of that way. Football's that way, where people will say, the eye test, and that means one thing, but I don't think people truly understand what that means. And so people just come up, well, it just looks wrong. That's fine. You can say that, but that's not strong evidence. And so as somebody that's been in the room, that's done these things, to listen to people that haven't is crazy. But then on top of that, people who aren't in the room with the Bears, you're not in the meetings, we're not at practice. So for you to sit here and definitively tell me what's wrong and this person's wrong, I'm never going to really agree with that, because you don't know. And so all of it kind of comes down to this conversation again, where in the NFL, football in general, people just look at results. That's all they do. And so if the results are bad, we're going to say we got to blame somebody. Somebody messed up. And that's fine. I understand that. We're a blame society. But the issue is, when it comes to football, coaches are, well, sports in general, coaches are easy to blame. It's easy to say, yeah, this coach doesn't know what he's doing, than to say LeBron messed up on the play. It's easy to say, yeah, well, this coach doesn't know how to play call, than to say Patrick Mahomes made a bad read. It's easy to, continue on examples. So when you have established players or people with narratives, it's easy to always blame the coaches. You know why? Because you don't know what the coaches are doing. You could sit here plain as day, watch a quarterback make a bad throw. You could watch a running back make a bad read. You could watch an offensive lineman get beat. And it's always easier to blame a coach. So there's a hierarchy to these things. Narratives play a part, but position plays a part too. So dependent, and I've said this before, what I noticed that's so weird is, depending on who's better, and again, who has the narrative, that's who's going to get the credit, and the lower tier is going to get the blame. So if you had a rookie receiver, let's just say Jay Jetta and Kirk Cousins, great play. What are they going to say? Kirk Cousins set him up. Kirk Cousins giving the rookie a chance. Kirk Cousins, I think it's Kevin O'Donnell. Kevin O'Donnell dialing up a nice play. Now you fast forward, and Jay Jetta is called the best receiver in the league. Jay Jetta bailing out the receiver. Jay Jetta making another play. It's just like, whoever's better, that's who they're going to get a credit to, or whoever has the highest status, I should say. Whoever has the highest narrative, that's who they're going to get a credit to, and they're going to get a blame to somebody else. Jay Jetta could run the wrong route, drop the pass. Kirk Cousins messed up there. Bad play call by the coach. And again, as I've said every single week, when you're on the team, you know what it is. You know what it is. Again, if you haven't been in that as a player, as a coach, that's why it's hard for me to listen to you, because we've been there. You know exactly what it is. You know who called the play, what the play call was, what the read was, what the throw was, what the route was. You know everything. But on the outside, we don't know, so we're just going to give it to the narrative. And that's all we do. So in this particular situation, Matt Eberflus first time head coach, negative. Defensive minded head coach, negative. Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick, generational talent, positive. Shane Waldron honestly didn't have a negative, but I guess Seattle's offense wasn't great enough, or he didn't do it with multiple teams, so he's got a negative. So what are we going to do? Anytime something goes wrong, it's Eberflus, he sucks, he's a bad head coach, he's clearly not the guy. It's Waldron, play calls are terrible, bad, they don't know how to game plan, bad development, they don't know how to develop a quarterback. And Caleb Williams somehow is the last person to get blamed. It is deja vu, and it's so weird, because I swear this team is going to drive me into retirement. Like, we did this. We literally did this 2 different times already. Technically 3. We did this with Trubisky coming in. First year didn't really matter, but then with Nagy, we did it. Then they got rid of him. They got Justin Fields. We did the same thing. Then they got rid of Nagy and them. Justin Fields. We did the same thing with the next group. Then they got rid of him. Now we're doing it with Caleb Williams. It's the same thing over and over again. Listening to fans and people that don't know the game sit here and tell me how it's not the quarterback. They don't know how to develop a quarterback. And then everybody keeps quoting decades. What does that matter? I'm so sick of people talking about we haven't had a quarterback since blah, blah, blah. So what? What does that have to do with this coaching staff? Just think about it logically for 1 second. Think about it. You walk into the Bears as a coach on any level. What does that have to do with what you're doing in your job? I don't care what happened in the past. I don't care what the history has been. Nothing has been consistent over that time, so I don't want to hear it. That is probably the worst discussion that anybody brings up. Oh, well, we haven't had a quarterback since blah, blah, blah. The Bear, you know what everybody said, and I said this before, but nobody says anymore. You know what happened when Trubisky was quarterback? The Bears never get a black starting quarterback. The Bears would never do a black starting quarterback. And then we got Justin Fields and then just disappeared. Everybody shut up. And I'm not talking about just for fun talking. I'm talking about people who legitimately tooth and nail fault me over the Bears would never have a black quarterback because the ownership is racist. Really? Really? That's your analysis? So now here we go. The Bears history, we just don't have a good quarterback. We ruined the quarterback. These coaching staffs have nothing to do with the others. Nothing. Like, let's be logical, people. So then, outside of this fan discussion, because we're going in the same cycle. I guarantee it. I didn't say it yet, but I guarantee this game was bad. Yes, all that. We're about to do the same thing. I guarantee I'll put all the money in my bank, which ain't a lot. I'll put all the money on my bank that come Wednesday, Eberflus or Waldron or both are fired. And we're going to do the scapegoat thing that every single team does. Now, losing to the Patriots is indefensible. I mean, this Patriots team, plus the fact is mostly backups, all that indefensible. I get that, 100% agree. Still, 100% will say firing a coach in the middle of the season doesn't mean anything. If anything, it just says we're punting on the season. So there's that. But that's what's going to happen because owners and some front office people are just like these fans. They don't know football. And so they're going to sit here and say, well, it must be your fault. It must be your fault. We got to fire you. It's Caleb's fault. Like, I wouldn't say all of his fault. As I said, every single time, every regime, every quarterback, it's a mix of it. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be very honest with you. Out of all three, quarterbacks, in terms of just this year, Caleb is the most of the issue. And I'm not giving up on Caleb. I'm not saying dump Caleb. As I said before, you just have to accept he's a rookie. You have to accept the growing pains. And nobody's willing to do that. Everybody wants to save face. I'm sure Ryan Poles and everybody wants to save face if they can survive. So let's throw Eberflus under the bus. I'm sure Eberflus wants to save face if he survives. Let's throw Waldron under the bus. I'm sure Waldron wants to save face. Let me throw my passing game coordinator under the bus. Let me throw my O-line coach under the bus. Those aren't the issues. And so, again, we're back in this cycle where fans are going to yell at me and tell me how wrong I am, how much they know what the issue is. We'll make a change, won't none change. We'll make a change at the end of the year, come next year, still will be an issue. And so, I mean, depending on who we get and all that, but it's just so dumb to me. It reminds me of Josh Allen. Josh Allen, in the same year as getting Stephon Diggs, actually before, but same offseason, I should say, went to a groundbreaking, coach, I'll just say, and reworked his footwork and his throwing motion. Completely reworked it using, again, groundbreaking technology that's now progressed and there's more people doing it. But at the time, it was very new. He did that. And so what has been a narrative the entire time? Stephon Diggs saved Josh Allen's career. Stephon Diggs made him a good quarterback. Stephon Diggs took him over the top. Did the offense focus on giving him the ball? Yes. Did he make some catches that bailed out Allen? Yes. But did he completely change Josh Allen? No, he did not. But that's the narrative, because that's the timing. So could Caleb get better? Could Caleb work on things this offseason and go to the next group who's just as good as this group? And people say, oh, they're great because now Caleb is playing better. Yes, it's optics, it's narratives. People wake up. The analysis is so weak. And that's just the cycle we're going to go through. And so we'll see who the next group is. It might not be this week, but I would bet it. But it's definitely going to be next year. It's definitely going to be next year. And the dirty secret that nobody wants to talk about, that's not really a secret at all, is that Caleb holds on to the ball too much. Caleb doesn't know how to read defense. Caleb doesn't manipulate well, he can, but he tends not to manipulate the pocket the way you want him to. And so it ain't all just him. Obviously, the offensive line, and I've shown you, I already went through this on video. Offensive line, tons of issues. Lots of backups today. But honestly, New England, very low in pressure rate. New England, not great pass rush. Same thing as the Cardinals. Cardinals lit us up last year. They were bottom of the league in pass rush or pressure rate. New England, not great in pressure rate, lit us up. And so it's not just the offensive line. I've already told you. And so we look at, people throw out these stats that are misleading. People throw out one or two clips that are misleading. But if you actually break down the entirety of the offense, the biggest issue is Caleb. And part of that we got to eat. Part of that we do need to adjust. And again, I've never said Waldron was great. I've never said Eberflus was great. I never said all of that. But I will say Caleb is about to get them fired. I will say they are being unfairly judged because, once again, we boil it down to, oh, it's working, so let's give credit accordingly. Let's start with Caleb. Then we might work our way down. DJ Moore got a lot of money, so let's give him credit. Then let's eventually get to the O-line. Eventually we'll get to Waldron. And you're okay enough to stay around. But as soon as it's bad, oh no, it's got to be the coaching staff. It's got to be the O-line coach. It's just, that's the way we do it. And you have so many teams, including us, in a vicious cycle because that's not the way you evaluate. You have, I wouldn't say you don't have an idea, but if you look at it the way a lot of these fans do, you will have no idea who is actually doing what, who's contributing to what, and who's playing well, who's coaching well. If you just look at it at face value, like a lot of these conversations are. So today, look, and we'll get to the film as we always do, but the offensive line, it didn't stand out to me as the big issue. Caleb stood out to me as the big issue. We will have play calls that were bad, absolutely, but as I've said so many times, this is a game of seconds and inches. So you have finite amount of time on the field. So when you have early down losses, when you're in second and long constantly, third and long constantly, when you're taking sacks constantly, when you're throwing incompletes constantly, you get behind the chains and it makes the game so much more difficult. And then we're not great at third down in any facet, or not even third down, but we're not great getting first downs. And so when you're not getting first downs as a team and you get into third and long situations, guess what? You don't convert. And when you don't convert, you are losing possessions. So as I mentioned, it's going to take the defense to get 2 turnovers for us to win because we're losing possessions. We don't know how to maintain. And that's exactly what we saw. We don't maintain possessions. We give up the clock, and it's just inefficient. And it's very reminiscent of Trubisky's first year with Nagy. It was just not his first year. But before that, when Trubisky's first year in general, but then eventually with Nagy, even though the defense was scoring a lot, actually, no, I take it back. It was his first year with Nagy because the defense was scoring points and getting takeaways, but the offense was very inefficient. And for those that were listening back then, you'll remember I told you the stats that were going to be key. And if you look at those stats back then, they weren't good. And if you look at them now, they're not good either. And I'm telling you, average time of possession, red zone attempts per game, and then third down conversion rate, and then some other stuff. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, we had great average starting field position to start the game multiple times. Didn't capitalize, but again, dead drives, dead plays, incompletions. That's the big issue. That's on Caleb a lot of the times, and nobody wants to admit it. But we'll get to the film, and I'm sure I'll have more to say. But I'm gonna stop right there before my head explodes. So go down the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.